I went to a senior coffee hour that I host, and I ran into a young lady, I won't mention her name, who told me she was so happy that I took an interest in her children. When I was just 17 years of age, I was a college student at Tufts University, and I headed up a youth program. And we worked with about 200 young people in the Grove Hall section of Roxbury, including Stanwood Street and Devon Street, and Wilder Street, which is now Bishop Joel Smith Way, and children from what was then Columbia Point, and children from West Medford. And I recruited some of my fellow students at Tufts University. We persuaded the university to have us drive about a dozen vans. And we worked with the young people just to show some interest. We had tutorial programs. Now, many of the children were from single-head of households. Mm-hmm. And this woman I'm talking about was one of them. And she told me that every one of her children who participated in my program went on to college. Mm-hmm. And they lived very successful lives. So that was very rewarding, and it tells me that we should continue that model and use and hire young people to mentor other young people.
Let me ask you about this. Since the tragic events during the marathon, yes, with the bombing, we've had over 90 shootings, yes, particularly or predominantly in communities of color.
Yes.
How would you address that situation as mayor, and what would you do to stem that tide and turn it around?
Well, it's a very complicated issue. I certainly applaud those advocates who want to know where the guns come from and want to do what they can to remove guns from the homes of people in general. I certainly, and I'm going to lose votes on this, but I do believe we need some form of even stricter gun control than what we have. I support buyback programs, for example, because when you're in a state of rage and the adrenaline's going and you have a weapon nearby, whether the person you have a dispute with is a friend or a foe, it can result in disaster. More shootings, more deaths, more pain, more suffering. So I believe, number one, we have to figure out how to get the guns out of the hands of these kids, most of whom can't shoot straight anyhow, and that means that some innocent bystanders, even children or grandparents, are going to be killed. Right. So I would focus on that. But again, we have to create an environment in the city of Boston where people know that is not tolerated in any section of the city of Boston. That's why I'm so angry that we have so many unsolved homicides, and someone has to hold even the district attorney account for the very poor clearance rate. It's great to talk about prosecution rate and everything, but when you consider that most of the homicides are not solved in the city of Boston, that raises questions not just about our own police department, but about the district attorney's office.
Let me shift to the economy and jobs.
Yes.
How would you stimulate more jobs coming to the city, the creation of more jobs, small businesses springing up, and keeping those businesses that are here and
yes,
not fleeing the city?
Yes.
What would you do?
Well, as you probably know, I actually have a degree in economics, and a degree in economics from Tufts, and a master's degree in public administration from Harvard University, and 30 years of experience on the Boston City Council. Okay, that's out the way. Before I was elected to the City Council, I had another life. I worked with community development corporations and economic development efforts, both in Massachusetts and in North Carolina. I helped arrange the financing for a 91-acre industrial park, which is still thriving today in Durham, North Carolina. And I've done work with the Federal Reserve Bank and others to create an environment where we promote the development of small businesses by dealing with what? Their financial needs, ensuring that they have effective accounting systems in place, and have mechanisms to actually raise money for the enterprises by developing business plans, by ensuring they have strong management, and they have marketing. And I think those three ingredients are critical for any business, and I think the city can play a role by strengthening the business development office that we already have, by getting engaged in even some investment in some of these businesses. We can do micro lending, for example, to help an enterprise get started, and work with the local financial institutions to encourage them to provide some lines of credit and other financing for these businesses. So you're looking at a product of junior achievement. When I was in high school, I was president of my junior achievement company. And the significance of that is that I became acquainted with what business is all about. Why can't we encourage a greater sense of entrepreneurship among our high school students by expanding, at least on the model of junior achievement, where we can have experienced executives from large or small businesses working with our teenagers in high school to at least acquaint them with the basic concept of running a business.
Do you think we offer the proper incentives for businesses to come here, to begin here, or would you change or look at that dynamic, given your background in economics? Would you do that a little bit differently?
Well, I think the answer to the question is yes, but it's not a simplistic answer, because a lot of people assume that the best way to keep businesses in Boston is to just give away the store, do the tax breaks. I engendered a great deal of criticism because I didn't believe, just one example, that we needed to give away $16 million in tax breaks to Liberty Mutual for them to stay here and build that wonderful tower that they built. And I had the opportunity to speak to some of these CEOs after the fact, at the ribbon cutting ceremony, which, yes, I did show up at. And they said, you know, Councilor Yancey, you were right. We really didn't need that $16 million to stay here, but we just want to make sure the city has some skin in the game. Well, I can think of other things to do with $16 million. Right. So tax incentive is not the be-all and end-all, but I think it's more important than tax incentive is to create a business-friendly environment. What does that mean? That people feel safe and secure. Like I believe once we get the violence under control in the city of Boston, you're going to see much more investment on part of these businesses. And we want to make sure that our students are the best in the country, so that when a business is looking around and making some investment decisions in terms of where they want to even locate their businesses, they're going to go where they have the talent. And Boston's going to produce the best talent for any business, and it's going to start right within the Boston public school system. And I believe that investing, yes, we're going to build a new high school, and it's going to be on the grounds of the Boston State Hospital. It's going to cost $115 million, and it's going to employ local people. And that's going the throw-off of that is that we can support the growth of other smaller businesses and vendors and subcontractors, and we're going to enforce the Boston residency law and ensure that people of color and women have a fair share of those jobs and contracts. And even within City Hall, I will insist that when we make contracts, that those vendors adhere to the same principles that we force contractors to live by.
We've only got about a minute and a half left. What I want you to do is look into the camera there and talk to the folks at home and tell them why they should give you their vote to be the next mayor of Boston.
My name is Charles Yancey, and I'm running for mayor of Boston because I believe I can improve the quality of life for everyone in the city. And quite modestly, I have more experience than most of my opponents combined. With 30 years of experience, I've gone through 30 budgets in the city of Boston. I happen to be a lifelong resident of Boston. I was born here. My 8 brothers and sisters were born and raised here as well, and I'm the proud father of 4 children and 5 grandchildren. So I'm kind of invested in the city of Boston, and I believe that we can create an environment where everyone can be proud of the city and everyone can contribute to the growth and development of Boston as one of the most dynamic cities in the United States of America. And yes, I want Boston to have a clean city. I want Boston to be the safest city in the United States. But most of all, I want Boston to be known as a city that invests in the future and that respects our veterans and our senior citizens and creates an environment where we can grow additional businesses owned by people who live right here. So I'm asking you to vote for Charles Yancey as mayor of Boston, and it's a vote that you too will be very, very proud of. Thank you very much, and I want to thank my good friend Sheriff Tompkins for hosting the series of interviews so you get to know all of the candidates. I've been very fortunate as a member of the City Council to develop new police stations, new libraries, new community centers, and a new high school for all the children of Boston will be in the future if you elect Charles Yancey as your next mayor.
Councilor, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it. I know you folks are out there beating the bushes and trying to drum up all the support you can, and we wish you well.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it. All right, folks, we're going to go to a break, and on the other side, District Attorney Dan Conley is going to be here, and he's going to talk to us about why you should consider giving your vote to D.A. Conley to become the next mayor of Boston. Please do stay tuned.